No Game, No Life. Volume 5, Epilogue. Never Ending. Hey Steph, what do you think love is? Are you still going on about that? I thought you were done. Apparently, I have a daughter now. What? Okay, calm down, Steph told herself, severely overworked as usual. Steph had been toiling in her office when Sora, Shiro, and Jabril popped by. They had scarcely walked through the door when Sora dropped this bomb on her. Interesting. Calming down didn't help at all. Are you feeling all right? Jabril chimed in from the side to elaborate. Sirens are quite fertile, and when it comes to the queen, even a few hairs from my master's head should be enough to conceive a child. You must see what a tranquil race they can be so long as the queen is awake. Steph tried to fend off a headache. No, that's not the issue. What, a daughter? But even if she is my daughter, she's a siren, so she can't leave the sea, right? That means I have to go there, but, see, I'm sort of worrying about whether I should go. Could this be what they call fatherly love? Steph had witnessed a miracle. It seemed a virgin had awakened to fatherly love. There's no need for you to go. Hey, but this is my own daughter we're talking about. To be more precise, she's more of a replica of Lila, synthesized by using a minute sample of soul from your hair. But yes, that is how sirens reproduce. Into this fog entered Azuna. A large fish was clamped in her mouth. No, a siren girl. Sora, some tiny little siren bitch came, please. The siren girl's first word? Daddy? It was electrifying. Ah, my daughter, yes, that's right. I'm your dagger. A blow from Shiro cut short Sora's mad dashing to embrace his daughter. Dear me, and I thought sirens weren't able to leave the sea. That plum bastard is here too, please. Ah, Dampier magic, I see. But if you do not hurry and put her in water, she will die. Steph, quick, get a tank. Oh hey, there was a pond in the courtyard. Will that do? You can do whatever, but will you just do it outside, or will you actually do some work? Surveying the raucous office, Jabril quietly considered. Here were Amanity, Flugel, Werebeast, and even Siren and Dampier, with no sign of conflict. Even Azrael, even Adventheim, was starting to change. The world, everything, slowly but surely, changing as it had not since the 10 Covenants. No, since even before then. Into something, her two masters at the center. It seems that my gospel of my masters truly will become myth. Someday not too long from now. Nodding silently, Jabril added to her scripture, her observation journal of Sora and Shiro. It's number, year, month, day. Master experienced immaculate conception. I see. I lose again. Clammy, who had been playing a game with Feel, let out a sigh and withdrew her notepad. Clammy, lately it seems you don't mind when you lose, do you? Of course I mind. Why do you think I'm doing this? Sullenly rebuting her friend's assessment, Clammy was recording the reason for her loss, her notes on the patterns she should have accounted for, but didn't, and what to do about them. In the approximate half-month since the existence Othello game with Sora, she'd already filled 50 books. There was no rational way for an Amanity to beat an elf in a game with magic, in which case, she just had to uncover an irrational way to win. Seeing the pile of notepads that demonstrated her determination, Fuel felt a swell of pride at Clammy's growth. Oh, Clammy, a little bird's come. Let's take a little time out. With this, Fuel touched the gem on her forehead. Referring to the interception of her foreign messages from the element linker net as a little bird was quite a tasteful bit of irony. That made Clammy smirk a bit, but the information, Fuel's eyes went wide. Fee, what is it? Is an emergency? Ah, no. It simply was too incredible. She related the news incredulously. Why, Mr. Sora and company have annexed Ocean, Siren and Dampier, into the Commonwealth of Elkia. Is that so surprising? Clammy asked, but Fuel continued. The Council of 18 Wings of Adventheim has also avoided to join the Commonwealth. I see, that is surprising. Clammy smiled. With that, on the heels of Werebeast, Siren, Dampier, and finally even Flugel had come to humanity. Bewildered by Sora and Shiro's frightful speed in accomplishing something most inconceivable, Clammy said to Fuel, That's a bit faster than expected. Let's hurry and pack up. Why, Clammy, you knew about this? Are you withholding information from me? Fuel inquired sadly, but Clammy smiled. It's not like that, Fee. I said expected, didn't I? Their strategy always adapts to circumstances. It was just that. If they were going to bring together all the races, sooner or later it had to happen. The issue is just, it's too fast. Why, I agree. Yes, too fast. If it were just about Oceania, it could be overlooked. But now that, after the Eastern Union, they were annexing Adventheim, it became a different story. Annexing a great country and a higher race in so short a time. Now principal players such as Elvengard and Hardenfell would be done watching coolly. They'd be on their guard. It would likely prompt them to start taking an aggressive stance toward Elkia, but this was not a problem. Just in time, it would seem that all the rush had paid off. Why, rather than a rush, I would call it a mad scramble. Even as she said this, Fuel gave a wry grin and packed, and with that, Comfy, let us go. I do not expect we shall be able to return for a while. Hee. If they can really do it, it would be an event so massive as to overturn the world. Why, we certainly can't miss it. As they left the Nervalan mansion behind and walked side by side down a road they would not be able to return to for a while, Fuel asked, Clammy, come to think of it, what was that one more thing you were saying before? Fuel had reached her own conclusions, but she asked anyways. He doesn't lie. To himself. Ever. That's why he can't lie. Apparently, she'd already known. The question had been a mere formality. Fuel smiled. He would never be able to say, this is the limit. This is about as far as it goes. For the one who had breathed life into him transcended such limits. To lie to himself would be to deny his sister's humanity. Chuckling at her remembrance of this pet theory, Clammy spoke. Hey Fee, do you know the method of achieving objectives? One common to all things? Yes. You guess, you predict, you get ready, you confront it, and then you fail. You fail? Yes, and then you verify the reason for your failure, you fix it, you get ready, you confront it, and you fail again. If you do this an infinite number of times, there is nothing in this world you cannot accomplish. Why, that is quite a wild argument. Clammy smirked and nodded as she watched her companion vault past being dumbfounded to being impressed. Yes, it is a wild argument. But I like this wild argument more than one might think. There was nothing one could not do. What one could not do was just what one had not done yet. What remained was the face-off with time, but the ones who could pass down even that face-off across generations were the weak. Neither I nor Sora is superhuman or a genius, but there is no need to be. It was just, the important thing is to try to be. Our infinite failures will light the path of those who follow, a lamp for walking through the darkness. His, Shiro, hers, Fee. Even the endless defeats of the old king, someday, must be the lamp of humanity of all the races. Suddenly, Fuel asked Clammy about the one who had influenced her so much. Clammy, in your eyes, what kind of person is Mr. Sora? What her question brought to mind was the world he had seen, and so, he is a person who decided to be a player, just a person who quit being a puppet. And yes, one could even say, she continued, a person whom one day we shall surpass, perhaps? At Clammy's brazen declaration, Fuel smiled and took her hand. The Eastern Union, the capital, Kanagari, the shrine, under the light of the moon, a golden fox girl and a white, aging beast man. The shrine maiden and Ino Hatsutse faced each other. In the hands of the shrine maiden, as she sat on the railing of the bridge over the garden pond, was the were-beast piece. While playing with the soft shining piece shaped like a pawn in her hand, the shrine maiden spoke. Pariya, The word has two meanings in the Amanity tongue, I'm told. Namely, player and prayer, one who followed their own will, marching forward, opening the unknown, confronting the future, or one who deferred to another's will, closing their eyes, turning from the unknown and trusting the future. Ino Hatsutse, to tell you the truth, 'twas my opinion that we should leave you. There was no apology in her words. She hadn't the qualifications to give one, she said resolutely. Had we done that, we'd have been able to grind Dampier and Siren into the palms of our hands with just one sacrifice and no risk. Yes, Your Holiness, I understand completely. This was the very reason Ino did not understand that man named Sora, why he had been saved. Ino Hatsutse had known more than well the Shrine Maiden's purpose, and he had been ready to end his days there in Ocean, and that was why he did not understand. He could not fathom that man Sora. 'Tis true we won the game, but we didn't need to play it. A ridiculous game, with a ridiculous outcome, but a game that, if fouled up, could have resulted in severe consequences for both the Eastern Union and Elkia. In the worst case, Amanity could have even sustained the kind of irreparable harm Plum had all along been plotting. We took an unnecessary risk. They took up the game despite this. They most likely had some reason beyond what he had been told, Ino thought, but the Shrine Maiden responded with laughter like ringing bells. They had made a promise to Azuna that they'd save you. Ino was dumbstruck. They had wagered the survival of their race for that? Well, I suppose they also had their pride as gamers, not wanting to let the game default. But, to sum it up, 'twas a loony game, yet Amanity went ahead and offered themselves up as Dampier bait. Mr. Sora and his sister did manage to turn it around on them, but to say they turned it around suggests it was known to be risky, doesn't it? Ino Hatsutse, what do you make of that man Sora? To be honest, I don't know. The Shrine Maiden intoned to Ino, whose head was bent. I suppose you wouldn't. That man's a fraud, a swindler, but he doesn't lie. Nay, he cannot lie. It could be, the Shrine Maiden continued. If he could lie to himself, then perhaps he would have become a blackguard who was easier to understand. The Shrine Maiden knew nothing of Sora before he came to this world. Still, having had the opportunity to absorb Sora and Shiro closely, she supposed they must have had trouble living. She had no evidence for this. Were she to furnish a rationale, all she could say was that it was her intuition as a werebeast from experience. But, for some reason, she was sure. Why would a fellow as skilled in mind games as Sora be incapable of real-life romance? It was that he couldn't lie to himself. Given this, he couldn't tell a woman he didn't love that he did love her. In which case, it was an interesting question why he had no attachment to his old world. But it was probably that he couldn't accept a world that wouldn't accept the only girl he loved. That was the one thing he could never do, even if it meant turning the whole world against him. Considering all that, I think I might as well swallow my pride, Ino Hatsutse. In the Shrine Maiden's brazen, brilliant expression, Ino saw something he had not seen for many years. A man who stayed true to himself, refusing to abandon you, though I would have. Are you game to give him a chance? Ino, to whom the question was put, lowered his head and declared reverently, If it would allow you to once more dream, if you would show me your dreams once more. The Shrine Maiden smiled at these words, and took the werebeast piece, the pawn that seemed constructed of light, and flicked it into the air. Mr. Sora, let's see it. The continuation of the dream I used to dream. That a mere piece could fly off the board and become a player. That at the end of this dream she had once dreamed, then let collapse. The dream would be never-ending. Well, that was a nice ending to this book. I hope I remembered the voices of Feel and Clammy, because I haven't done them since the beginning of this book, which was a couple months ago, at least. Just a note that I wanted to include here at the end. I'm going to take a break from this book as I do ReZero for a bit, since these don't seem to be getting many views as is. If I see an uptick in attention to this series, I might end up recording more. I also might end up recording the beginning of Volume 4 in the future, just so it's like all packed together and I don't just start like a couple chapters in. And I might remake a couple of my first episodes that sound like trash. So, look forward to that, hopefully, in the future. With that, thank you for listening to this book. Thank you for following along if you truly have been. I suppose I'll bid you guys adieu. Bye.